A man spent 24 years in prison for kidnapping an 18-year-old girl. There was no body, no DNA, nothing of hers was ever found. He died in prison still swearing he had never touched her. And the one fact that might have cleared him, a fact about the missing girl herself, the jury was never told. The same office that put him there had been sitting on it for years. Her name was Heidi Allen. Easter morning, 1994, she opened that store alone, and by the time anyone understood she was gone, the two brothers who would be blamed for it had not even been named yet. Heidi Allen was the kind of teenager a small town builds its mornings around. The town of New Haven in Oswego County was a stretch of dairy farms and gas stations where everyone knew the girl behind the counter at the D&W. She was saving for college. She had traded shifts that weekend so a coworker could be home for the holiday. At 5:45 that morning, she unlocked the store by herself. At 7:42, the register recorded its final sale. Sometime in the next half hour, a passing driver noticed the place wide open and unattended and flagged down an Oswego County Sheriff's patrol. Inside, nothing was out of place. No broken glass, no blood. Her car sat untouched in the lot, the cash still in the drawer. To the deputies standing in that quiet store, it looked less like a crime scene than like a girl who had stepped out of her own life mid-sentence. But someone had been paying very close attention to that store. Someone who knew that a teenage girl would be standing there, alone, before the rest of the county was even awake. The first real lead came from a receipt. A customer had bought cigarettes at the D&W that morning and paid by check, which meant his name was sitting right there in the store's records. His name was Richard Thibodeau. Richard told investigators the truth as he knew it. He had been in the store, bought his cigarettes, and left. Heidi, he said, was alive and standing at the register when he walked out. But a witness described a van like Richard's in the lot and what looked like a struggle near the door. Within months, the case widened to pull in Richard's older brother, Gary Thibodeau. The new theory was that the two men had taken Heidi together. By the summer of 1994, both brothers stood charged with her kidnapping. There was no body, no DNA, no fingerprints tying either brother to Heidi. The entire case rested on circumstance and the word of witnesses. And when the two men were tried, separately, for the very same crime, the juries did not agree. Richard Thibodeau went to trial first. The jury looked at the evidence, found it thin, and acquitted him. He walked out of the courthouse a free man. Then Gary Thibodeau stood trial. The same theory, much of the same evidence, the same absence of a body. And in June of 1995, the jury convicted him of first-degree kidnapping. The sentence was 25 years to life. Two brothers, one alleged crime, one acquittal, and one man sent away for the rest of his life. Years later, even the district attorney would acknowledge there was no direct evidence, no DNA, and no fingerprints placing Gary at that store. Gary Thibodeau went to prison, swearing he had never touched Heidi Allen. For nearly 20 years, no one with any power believed him. And then, a federal defender pulled open a file the jury had never been allowed to see. Her name was Lisa Peebles, an assistant federal public defender. By the 2010s, she was Gary Thibodeau's lawyer, and she went back through a case nearly 2 decades cold, pulling records and chasing the paperwork that had been generated back in 1994. What she was hunting for was simple: anything the prosecution might have had and never handed to the defense. In American law, withholding evidence that could help the accused has a name. It is called a Brady violation, and on its own, it can be enough to undo a conviction. Peebles kept pulling threads, and buried in the history of that same sheriff's office was a secret about Heidi Allen herself. A secret that, if it was true, meant the people investigating her disappearance had known her, quietly, for years. Heidi Allen had been a confidential informant. As a teenager, she had agreed to give the Oswego County Sheriff's Office information about local drug activity. The same agency now investigating her abduction had, years earlier, quietly signed her up as a source, under a code name. None of this had been disclosed to Gary Thibodeau's defense in 1994. The jury that sent him to prison never heard that the missing girl had been working in secret for the very office that built the case against him. And there was one more detail about how that secret got out, 2 years before she ever disappeared. It had not been leaked by a witness or pried loose in a courtroom. It had simply been lost. According to testimony, a sheriff's deputy had carried an informant card with Heidi's information on it, her name, her details, the fact that she was working as a source. And at some point that card, along with other names, was dropped in a parking lot. It was not found by another officer. It was picked up by a co-owner of the very convenience store where Heidi worked. The most dangerous secret a teenage informant can have had spilled into the open roughly 2 years before she was taken. For Lisa Peebles, this rearranged the entire case. If Heidi was a known informant, then there was a whole world of people with a reason to want her gone. A world the original investigation had never seriously walked into, because the jury was only ever shown 2 brothers. So Peebles took the case back into court, and this time she brought other names. In 2014 and 2015, a new round of hearings reopened the question the county thought it had buried. Witnesses came forward with a different account, that Heidi had been taken by other men entirely, and that her disappearance was tied to that hidden world of drugs and informants. Names that had never reached the 1994 jury were now spoken aloud in court. The defense argued the real abductors had been walking free the whole time Gary Thibodeau sat in a cell, paying for what they had done. But much of it arrived as hearsay, second-hand, unproven, impossible to fully test 2 decades on. The judge weighed it all and declined to overturn the conviction. The door had been opened, and then, slowly, it began to close. The fight went all the way to New York's highest court. In June of 2018, the Court of Appeals ruled on whether Gary Thibodeau deserved a new trial. The decision was 4-3. 4-3. By a single vote, the conviction stood. But 3 of the state's senior judges dissented, writing that the evidence against him had not been overwhelming, and that a jury hearing the full story might have reached a different verdict. Lisa Peebles had to carry that ruling back to her client. She would later recall what he told her when he understood that it was finally over. He was an old man by then and sick. He looked at her, and he said he was ready to die. 2 months later, in August of 2018, Gary Thibodeau died in prison. He was 63 years old. And to the very end, he said he had never harmed Heidi Allen. He died convicted of taking a young woman whose body has never been found. No grave, no remains. More than 30 years on, Heidi Allen has never come home. Her sister, Lisa Buskey, still returns to the only thing anyone can say for certain. Not who did it, not how, only this. Heidi is still missing, and the family does not know where she is. And the sheriff's office that built the case against Gary Thibodeau, the same office that once let Heidi's secret slip into a parking lot, still lists her to this day as missing. The man they were certain of is dead, The girl is still gone, and whoever took her that Easter morning was never the one who paid.